Hi everyone, it's Knife22 here. I hope you guys are all well, and welcome to this 15 move checkmate King's Gambit, which I played just today actually, versus Mikhail55. I believe he was from Ukraine. Yes, Ukraine, that's the Ukrainian flag. It's a very interesting game, a lot of attacking styles. It reminded me of sort of those very quick sort of Tal Kaspar finishing games. So we'll take a quick look at the game. It starts out with the King's Gambit. And the King's Gambit is probably one of the most dynamic and very aggressive openings which you can play against pawn to e5. So pawn takes, and then we have knight to f3, so development, and also stopping the queen from coming to h4 check. And my opponent plays this line bishop to c5. Now I don't often see this in the King's Gambit. I usually see either pawn d6, which is Fischer's recommendation, or supporting the pawn with g5 and going for the sort of kingside attack on me. But I do usually see bishop c5, purely because I can play the move pawn to d4. And you'll think, yeah, this bishop isn't very good because black's wasting a tempo, but actually the bishop goes back to b6, and you'll notice after bishop takes f4, this bishop is sort of really bearing down on this diagonal of the king, and it can actually be quite deadly. But the main things you can do to just solve this problem is to move your king off to h1, which I think I did later in the game. Okay, so my opponent plays pawn to d6. He's actually developing quite passively now, just trying to get his other bishop out. But this bishop is on a decent square, but I would recommend to you that he plays his knights to f6 and c6 soon. I now play bishop c4, and you can see the attack the King's Gambit really gives you. I would say I'm pretty much in an ideal position here, with these two pawns controlling the 5th rank, these two bishops controlling the 5th rank. If you'll notice on the 5th rank actually, in black's home territory, I'm controlling all the squares from b5 to g5, which is quite an achievement in the opening. And from here my opponent plays the move h6. I think he's going for one of those King's Gambit's ideas where he attacks on the king side with g5, but now that this f-pawn is gone, it's going to be a lot more difficult for him to do that. So I castle in this position. A very nice feature of castling is that it gives the open f-file to the rook in the King's Gambit. And you'll notice that this rook is also indirectly attacking the f7 pawn, which is a key weakness. And also this bishop's going for that as well. And you'll see over the next couple of moves, this f7 pawn becomes really key in my checkmate. Okay, so my opponent plays his knight to e7 here, which I find a little bit odd. Purely because the knight to f6 really helps to defend the king side as well, because one, it will block this f-file and defend it, and the other one, it guards the h7 square, which can often be quite weak, as well as h2 in the castling positions. And now I play pawn to e5. This is maybe what he wanted to avoid by playing, but if he played knight f6. But after d takes and knight takes, you notice I already have a double attack on this pawn. And my opponent makes a bit of a mistake here. It's quite hard to say what he should play. I mean, he could play bishop e6. It does look ugly, but it does get rid of my light square bishop on that diagonal. But he castles. And basically what you'll notice is that after I play knight takes f7, this knight is pretty deadly. If he actually takes back with the rook, then I can take with bishop, and then after king takes, I can play bishop takes c7, and this check is checking the king, and then after the king moves off, I can take the queen. It's probably quite hard for some of you to see that at the moment, but some of you will know what I'm on about. So yeah, it is a bit of a mistake, but if he doesn't take this, then he's going to have to move his queen, and then on the next move, I can play my knight to however he sees fit, and he needs to move the king because there's a discovered check with my bishop. So a very interesting move. He does actually decide to take the knight in this position. I don't know whether this was because he didn't see the move and he thinks it's a blunder, or because he did see the move and he thinks that knight's too much of a threat. But now I can play bishop takes f7 check. And you'll notice that this is what I'm talking about. It'll be easier for you to see now. If king takes f7, this king will be on the f7 square. I can play bishop takes c7. And this rook will be checking the king on f7, and then after the king moves away, I can take the queen with my bishop on c7, which is why he didn't take my bishop. He played king h8. I probably think that he probably didn't see that blunder, because I now traded the rook for the knight, which is very good in itself. And from here, I don't really think I made a blunder in this position, because if you notice my d-pawn, it's being double attacked on, and it's going to be quite risky to defend because it's lined up with the king anyway. The pawn is pinned, so I'm probably going to have to play c3 or something quite ugly like that. But I decided to play my queen up to h5, just going for an attack on the king side, and I say, you know what, I don't really care if you go and attack down here, because I'm going for a all-out attack on the king side. But then my opponent does play the queen takes d4 check, and this is what I was expecting, because after I play king h1, he can go and nap up the b2 pawn, and this could get quite ugly for me. To stop the loss of the rook, I have to play knight to d2, connecting the rooks, and then he can munch up the c pawns and the a pawns, and it can just get quite ugly for me. But he didn't go down that line for some reason. Maybe he saw something that I didn't. Actually, maybe bishop to e5 would be quite deadly for him, having to move the queen back. But he played knight from c to e to c6, and I'm just like, oh, what are you doing? Because this knight is practically the only piece he's got on the king side, defending his king, and he's moved it over to the queen side. Like, what useful squares can be on the king side? And the thing just maybe was a bit distracted. Maybe it's thinking knight b4, and then knight takes c2, trapping rook, but I'm not really sure. Maybe knight e5, but that's a bit stupid because you just lose the knight because there's two defenders on e5. Anyway, I played bishop takes h6 check, just sacrificing the bishop, because if he does take, then there's queen h6 mate, obviously. But another thing I want to do is I get the bishop off the f-file, and then maybe come ahead with my rook and do some checks. Oh, but do bear in mind that if I do move this rook and it's not check, there's pressure on g1, obviously, with this queen and bishop, so I must keep that rook defending g1, or if I move it away, it must be check, so that the opponent can't checkmate me on g1. But anyway, he did fall for the trap. He did take the bishop. Probably just got a bit greedy for material. It was blitz, so maybe I was thinking my queen could not defend. But unfortunately for him, he didn't see that queen h6 was checkmate. Okay, so that was a very beautiful chess game. I did enjoy it very much. I hope you guys enjoyed the video too. You'll notice I've been a bit calmer with my voice recently, and that's because I've had 2 or 3 comments on my videos saying you're shouting a bit much. So I'm going to go ahead and listen to this video now, and hope I don't shout as much as I usually do. Okay, so thanks so much for watching, everybody. I've been KnifeFighter22. I wish you good luck playing chess, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye, everyone.